Somewhere right now, in a plant you'll never see, behind a door marked authorized personnel only, $1 million an hour is running through pipes, wires, and steel, and it's all being held together by a person nobody thanks. They call it instrumentation and control. You'll call it something else by the end of this video. Level 1, the absolute beginner, the kid with the multimeter. Estimated income, $0 to $15,000 per year, unpaid trade school labs, part-time stipend work, or a $15 18-hour community college internship. You are 17, or you are 34 and starting over. It doesn't matter which. You are standing in a garage, or a community college lab that smells like solder flux and burnt coffee, holding a multimeter like it might bite you. You don't know what a 4 to 20 milliamperes loop is yet. You don't know that in 2 years you'll be able to troubleshoot one blindfolded, by feel, by the way the numbers breathe on the screen. Right now you just know that when you touch the two leads together, the number changes, and that feels like magic. The reality, nobody is paying you yet. You're paying tuition, or you're working a warehouse job during the day and taking night classes for an associate's degree in instrumentation technology or electronics. Your friends are asking why you didn't just go into computer science. You don't have a good answer yet. You just know that machines that measure the invisible, pressure, flow, temperature, level, feel like a language worth learning. You fail your first calibration lab. You wire a thermocouple backwards and get a number that makes no physical sense, and you sit there for 40 minutes before your instructor points out the obvious. It's humiliating. It's also the first real lesson: the instrument never lies. You do, to yourself, when you assume instead of verify. Level 2, the apprentice, the one with the radio clipped to his belt. Estimated income, $39,000 to $56,000 per year, roughly $18 to $22 per hour as an entry-level INC technician. You check your clock. 5:52 a.m. You clock in 8 minutes early because you learned in your first week that showing up on time here means showing up late. You clip a radio to your belt that will interrupt every meal, every bathroom break, every quiet moment for the next 40 years of your career, if you let it. Your journeyman doesn't say much. He hands you a torque wrench and a P&ID drawing folded into quarters, soft at the creases from being folded and unfolded 1,000 times, and says, "Go find TAC PT204 and tell me what it's reading." It takes you 25 minutes to find one instrument. He could have found it in 4. The reality, you are surrounded by hazards you're only half trained to respect: live electrical panels, pressurized lines, confined spaces, rotating equipment. The plant doesn't care that you're new. Nobody slows down for you. You learn the hard way that "I think it's fine" is a sentence that gets people hurt in this industry, and you start saying "let me verify" instead, out loud, every time, until it becomes reflex instead of performance. You are exhausted in a way that has nothing to do with muscle. It's the exhaustion of holding 1,000 small facts in your head at once: loop numbers, set points, which valve is normally open, while a senior tech watches you and says nothing, because that's how you learn here. Silence, until you get it right. Level 3, the journeyman, the one who almost isn't. Estimated income, $53,000 to $69,000 per year, median $69 to $10 for a certified calibration instrumentation technician, 3 years in. You've got your certification now, maybe an ISA certified control systems technician credential, maybe just a reputation nobody questions anymore. You can read a loop diagram the way other people read a sentence. You've stopped needing the radio to feel useful, now people call you on it. This is where the ladder gets dangerous. Not because the work gets harder, because you start to believe you've got it figured out. It's a Tuesday. You're calibrating a pressure transmitter on a system you've serviced a dozen times before, and you skip a step you've done 100 times. You don't fully isolate the line before you disconnect the sensing tube, because you're confident, because you're tired, because nothing's ever gone wrong before. For half a second there's a hiss of live process pressure where there shouldn't be one. Nobody gets hurt. That's the only reason you still have a career. But the near-miss report has your name on it, and your supervisor, the same one who trained you, sits you down and says one sentence you will remember for the rest of your working life. The instrument didn't fail. You did. And you got lucky. The reality, this is the level where the industry quietly loses people, not to injury, but to burnout, complacency, or a mistake big enough to end a career before it really started. The ones who survive this level aren't the most talented. They're the ones who let the fear back in, the healthy kind, the kind that makes you double-check even when you're sure. You start writing your own personal checklist that has nothing to do with company policy. You start saying verify, isolate, then verify again like a prayer. Level 4, the senior technician, the one they call first. Estimated income, $71,000 to $93,000 per year. Average total pay near $92,971 per year. Top earners reaching $115,000 plus. You don't chase the radio calls anymore. They come to you, and you decide which ones actually matter. You've developed the thing that can't be taught in a classroom, instinct. You walk past a pump and hear, underneath the normal mechanical noise, a half-second irregularity that means a bearing is 6 weeks from failure. Nobody else on the floor hears it. You do, because you've spent a decade listening. The reality, this is the quiet peak of technical mastery, and it comes with an uncomfortable question: is this it? You make good money. You're respected. But you also watch newer engineers with less field knowledge get promoted past you into salaried roles, because the org chart values a degree over 10,000 hours of hands-on judgment. Some technicians make peace with this and become the most valuable person on the floor, the one everyone quietly depends on. Others start looking upward, toward automation and controls engineering, wondering if the ladder actually keeps going, and whether they're allowed to keep climbing it without starting over. Level 5. The specialist, the bridge between the wrench and the code. Estimated income, $90,000 to $118,000 per year. Specialist, controls adjacent technician and entry controls engineer band. You made the jump. Maybe you went back to school part-time for a degree, or maybe you just proved yourself so many times that the automation department poached you outright. Either way, you're not just calibrating instruments anymore, you're programming the logic that decides what those instruments' numbers mean to the rest of the plant. The reality, you now carry two kinds of knowledge that almost nobody else in the building has at the same time: what it feels like to stand next to a piece of equipment when it fails, and how to write the code that's supposed to prevent that failure. This makes you unusually valuable and unusually tired, because both the field team and the engineering team now assume you understand the other one's job perfectly, and you're constantly translating between two languages. You start to realize the ladder was never really about titles. It was about how many rooms you're allowed into. Level 6. The controls engineer, project lead, the one who sees the whole plant at once. Estimated income, $117,000 to $177,000 per year. BLSOEWS median around $117,750 per year. 90th percentile near $177,020 in high-complexity industries like oil and gas, LNG, and defense. You don't work one system anymore. You work the system of systems. You sit in meetings where a plant manager asks you, in plain English, why a process is losing efficiency, and you translate the answer from thousands of individual data points into a sentence a non-technical executive can understand and act on. Real-world anchor. This is the level historically associated with figures like Charles Stark Draper, the MIT engineer whose foundational work in instrumentation and control systems, inertial guidance, feedback control theory, became the backbone of modern aerospace and industrial automation. Draper didn't build a single instrument that made headlines. He built the discipline that every technician on this ladder is standing on top of, whether they know his name or not. The reality, the money is real now. So is the weight. A mistake at this level isn't a near-miss report, it's a multi-million-dollar shutdown, or a safety incident that makes the news. You stop sleeping well before major commissioning dates. You also start to notice something strange. You miss the floor. You miss the smell of the plant, the physical certainty of holding a tool, the simplicity of a problem you could solve with your hands instead of a budget meeting. Level 7. The master, industry legend, the name on the standard. Estimated income, $180,000 to $350,000 plus per year. Principal engineer, expert consultant, or founder of an instrumentation automation firm. Senior expert witness and consulting rates can exceed this. You don't fix instruments anymore. You write the standards that determine how every instrument in the industry gets calibrated, wired, and certified for the next 20 years. Young technicians in garages you'll never visit are, right now, reading a manual with your committee's name buried in the citations, having no idea that the rulebook they're memorizing came from someone who once wired a thermocouple backwards in a community college lab and didn't understand why the number made no sense. Real-world anchor. This is the tier occupied by the veteran engineers and consultants who chair standards bodies at organizations like ISA and IEEE, the people whose 40-year field careers get compressed into a single sentence in a textbook footnote. It's a quiet kind of fame. No one recognizes them in an airport, but every automated plant on the continent runs, in some small part, on a decision they made decades ago. The reality, the cost of this level isn't measured in money. It's measured in the version of you that existed at level 1. The one who thought this was just going to be a job. You gave decades to a discipline that mostly stays invisible to the public by design, The entire point of good instrumentation and control is that nobody notices it, because when it's working, nothing goes wrong. You built a career on being essential and unseen at the same time. Some people would call that thankless. You call it the only kind of legacy that's actually real, because it never breaks down when no one's watching. Nobody grows up dreaming of becoming an instrumentation and control technician. There's no movie about it. No poster on a kid's wall. But somewhere between the multimeter in the garage and the standard bearing your name, you built something rarer than fame, a discipline that keeps the modern world from quietly killing the people inside it. Every safe flight, every clean water system, every power plant that didn't fail last night, some of it runs through hands like yours. You didn't climb this ladder for recognition. You climbed it because someone had to be the person who actually checks, who actually verifies, who doesn't assume. The world will never throw you a parade for that. But it's still standing because you did the work anyway.